devastation setting in. Here's Nick Clark sharing that sadness.
I don't really have the words. A lot of people don't, but we just gonna say thank you to Kobe for everything that he brought to the sport of basketball and just life as a whole. I really I would go on more, but I just don't have it in me.
This is the
There are
show.
certain moments in life that you will never forget where you were and what you were doing, whether it be the assassination of JFK, the 9/11 attacks, the first time a man walked on a moon. I will never forget the day that Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and multiple other victims were killed in a helicopter crash. This video is going to be me explaining my initial reaction, the evidence that we know, and how this impacts the community going forward. So this is definitely going to be a video that you're going to want to see as we're going to walk through the whole entire process. It is Sunday, I would say about roughly 3 p.m. I had gotten out of work at about 1 o'clock. And the first, my buddy Harmy texted me or direct messaged me on Instagram, and he said, or it was a link to a TMZ thing that said Kobe Bryant has been killed in a helicopter crash. And my first reaction was, it was TMZ. So I took it with a grain of salt. You know, I was kind of like, well, you know, it's TMZ, you know, wait till all of the sources and all of the credible information comes out before we all jump to conclusions. And I didn't really have too much time to do any type of research because my brother had come upstairs and he asked me, is it real? He came right through the door in my room and he asked me, is it real? Now, he wasn't the biggest sports fan, but again, this is beyond sports at this point. If we're getting this information that he was killed in a aerial type of accident, it's beyond sports, and it is way, way beyond the court when something like this happens. So he had come in and he said, is it real? And again, this was right about at the point where after I seen this, I began to look things up. I'd started to see all of these sources coming out with all of these things. Now, I didn't freak out because I'm generally one of those people where when a tragedy happens, I don't freak out. I'm just kind of silent. I don't say much. I'm just, you know, kind of just what's going on. My reaction, and I don't want to sound cliche with this, but it was shock. I was kind of just, you know, what is happening? Is this real? And is this credible? Denial is another one, and these are all stages of grief and kind of just people in general. And it was starting to become very, very real and appear that this has actually happened. And I had people call me. I knew that there was certain people that knew already, but they didn't want to call me. I was kind of still in that stage of denial, kind of like, well, is this like, you know, it's can't happen. Again, at this point, all of these sources had begun to come out, and it was very, very real, and it did happen. A couple hours later, we find out that his 13-year-old daughter was also in the accident, and that is when it just spiraled out of control. We also then figured out that other victims were on this. It was one of Gianna's teammates. It was also her father, her teammate's father, and the pilot, and I believe a couple of other victims as well. First off, after about 20, 25, 30 minutes, I started crying, right? That kind of, you start to get to that, wow, the emotions start to hit. It was a shock to everybody, not just the basketball community, but everybody as a whole. And it kind of shows you just to not take life for granted. And I know that's another thing that is so cliche, but it really is just, it's still a shock. It's you know, Monday, we're 2 days out of the tragedy, and we're still in denial. We still don't believe, because we're so, me being a big basketball fan, let's take it to the sports side of it for a minute. There were games that were already scheduled on Sunday that continued to be played. I don't know if that was the right call, but again, at the same time, if you think about it, Kobe would have wanted these people to play this game. If a tragedy had happened, which it did, Kobe would have wanted the show to go on, and the show will go on regardless. But it is just the emotional tragedy that affects everybody. And now this is where you see people. LeBron just came out. He wrote a post. We haven't seen any type of video footage or any of that the from him or just anybody as a whole. Well, we've seen video footage. We've seen Kareem come out with something. We've seen Dave Fitzdale be live. We saw Jay Williams telling everybody just let shit go. We saw Brian Windhorst, I believe. We saw Stephen A. Smith. There's certain people that are just going to kind of want to stay away from that. Now, just to update everybody, they did cancel tonight's scheduled game between the Lakers and Clippers. And I think that's the right thing to do, and here's why. The other games do continue, but by scheduling that, this is why. Because now, the Lakers played Saturday night. LeBron broke the record. Kobe congratulated him. Again, that was the last time that we saw a social media presence from Kobe Bryant. Saturday night when he congratulated LeBron on passing his all-time scoring record. LeBron did say that he had a conversation Sunday morning right before with Kobe Bryant. I want to say right before he went, or what was scheduled to be him flying with this pilot, these other people and his daughter to her game. That's where they were headed. They were headed to her basketball game. And I don't know. Again, the last person Kobe probably spoke to was, of course, his daughter and then the people on the helicopter. But prior to that, I would say LeBron was probably one of the people, and his wife Vanessa as well. So that is where that was headed. Now, back to what I was saying, the game was postponed, and I think that that's good because now the Lakers were not scheduled to after tonight to play till Friday night. And again, an extra couple days is going to kind of, it's not going to have people forget. People are still going to be depressed and upset, and that's absolutely what is expected. But it is going to give the Lakers and LeBron especially and everybody else involved, especially with the Lakers organization, a couple of extra days to just kind of mentally grasp what's going on, grieve a little bit. And Friday, I don't know if they're home or not, but they are scheduled to take on the Trailblazers. And I'm expecting them to do some type of tribute, regardless to where they are. I don't know if it's a home game. I'm actually probably should have looked that up before the video and before I'd come on here. I don't know, like I said, if it's a home game, but I'm assuming something like that. I really thought it would have been special if they played tonight, considering it was at Staples Center, and Clippers again are a big team, and it would be a big feel kind of game. But you can certainly understand why that game was canceled. And that is now postponed. And as we know, the Lakers' next game will be Friday. And it gives them kind of just a couple of extra days to just really sink in just this tragedy. Now, in terms of causes, well, actually, you know what? Before we get to that, I'm going to talk about Kobe. To me and so many other people, I was never a basketball player, but I lived through Kobe. Not lived through him, but he was one of my real-life role models that I looked up to. And it is just, that is why it is so devastating. And I want to keep mentioning the other victims as well, because there are people that are saying, you did not mention these other victims. It is not that we did not mention these other victims. It is just that we were so wrapped into the fact that Kobe Bryant is gone, and it's terrible that I feel like these victims don't get the proper acknowledgement they deserve, because regardless of what you say, it is on paper, every single human life has the same equal value. Now, whether, of course, in life it is not treated that way, but that is the golden rule, and that is the right rule, that every single human life is treated with that respect. So I do want to mention those victims again. My thoughts and prayers go out to them and their family as well. But the main topic here is Kobe, and that is kind of what we're going towards. But again, these victims are just as important. But to me, Kobe was one of those people where he was tough, and he was always conquering obstacles, and he was just a dog that would not ever give up. And we lived through his success and we lived through his mentality that, infamously, when anybody throws a piece of paper into a garbage can, they yell Kobe. It was just, we lived through Kobe, and it is that type of relationship between fan and athlete where we may have never had a conversation with this athlete. The athlete does not even know of our existence, but it's a connection that you develop through your experiences. Whether you are a Lakers fan, an NBA fan, or not, that is why, to me, Kobe was, because I lived through that type of never give up kind of mentality. Especially with, I've struggled, this not at all to make this about me, but I've had my own demons and struggled through certain things. And that is why I also lived through someone like John, because he is an epitome of class, respect. Derek Jeter, same thing. There are just larger than life characters that have impacted way beyond their professional field. Kobe is obviously one of those. So that is why it affects us. Now, if you are specifically a basketball fan, it most certainly affects you to that extent. But again, it definitely, I have a phone case of Kobe Bryant. I have his NBA 2K17 promo poster on my wall. I don't have his jersey. That is something I would like to get at some point in my life. I don't have any Kobe shoes either. That's another thing. But just certain things like that. That is why we were so devastated, because he was a larger-than-life icon. The same thing goes for Michael Jordan. The same thing goes for LeBron James. The same thing goes for Derek Jeter, John Cena. People like that, Jay-Z, Eminem, whatever. Now, as far as of causes go, again, I am not your person that is going to, I was not on site, okay? So people can say, well, I heard this, I heard that. Save it. The general thumb was that it was a very foggy day in LA, and that the person that was piloting this aircraft was given permission to do so. And what happened was, I don't know if it was because it was super foggy and there were strong winds. Again, I don't live in California. I'm all the way on the other side. But this route was supposedly taken by Kobe Bryant multiple times. And I believe that this pilot had done this route plenty of times as well. So when you look at it, what basically happened is about maybe halfway through the flight, to what I'm told, the pilot was starting to think, well, I don't want to turn back, but this is really getting very difficult to make this type of flight. So I think what happened was he tried to take an alternate route, and as he was coming around, he lost control or whatever happened, and it caused the helicopter to crash into the side of a hill. Now, I think that he tried to phone aerial control or whatever, and for some reason, now I don't know exactly how credible this is, but he said that he could not do that because the plane or the helicopter was so low. That's another thing. Again, you're not going to be 30,000 feet in the air, but why was the helicopter so low to the ground to where it could hit something like that? But now what happened was, it was said that they were hitting top speeds, and he couldn't control it, and the helicopter was descending rapidly. It was roughly at about 2,000 feet. And to descend from 2,000 feet in a helicopter is something that probably happens in a couple of seconds. Within 30 seconds, I would assume that somebody could descend from a helicopter in that time span. And he did not see or whatever, and just picture the worst fog probably, and they crashed. And that was kind of just what happened. It's still, I'm still in that shock factor, but I figured I'd come out here and just kind of give my situation. We don't know the cause of the accident. That is just certain details. I was told I heard 185 miles an hour. Now, the difference is when you're in a car, your chances of surviving a car crash are significantly higher. And being in a car crash is a lot more common. If you are in a plane crash, your chances of survival are drastically low. Same thing would probably go for a helicopter. Everybody on board died. And it is just, again, I'm still shocked. Like, just to be talking about something like this, it really is just, we all lived through Kobe, and more details will come out. I even just saw something on SportsCenter that I could take up to a year to get the cause of crash from an aviation device, and that is absolutely terrible because people are going to want answers. I don't think it was the pilot's fault. I don't think it was anybody's fault. Exactly why it happened, I don't know, but I just think that it was a freak kind of thing, and they underestimated maybe the weather. I don't think that it is just a very unfortunate event, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, like all of us are, but I figured I'd just come on here and just kind of explain kind of just my side of it, how I figured it out, what we know, and just so many players are just devastated, and it's just a really awful occurrence um, in the community and just sports as a whole, and you will remember this probably for the rest of your life. So that is really all I got for you guys. We're going to have some videos coming up soon, but back to the fun and crazy intros. But the last couple of weeks were a little bit on the rougher side, so we didn't necessarily have that opportunity. Super Bowl preview is going to be coming, and I'm going to probably be portraying the Kansas City coach and trying to hype them up to get that Super Bowl. But ladies and gentlemen, this is what I thought. These are my opinions. Rest in peace, Kobe, and thank you for watching.